Hi guys, I'm Shane, obviously.
Hi Shane.
I'm going to stay seated though so you guys can all see the presentation because you don't want to miss it. So I'm going to be doing an audit of 10,000 villages. You probably have all heard of it. It's a pretty big brand. But yeah, so let's just get started. First I'm going to talk about some basic things and then move on to a little more advanced strategies. And we'll start really basic with just typical on-page factors like homepage copy, title tags, keyword mapping, some more of the technical stuff like duplicate content, URL structure, and server response codes. Then we'll get a little bit more into off-page SEO, and then we'll also look at some other advanced strategies like content marketing and Google Plus integration. So we'll start off just looking at homepage copy. Basically, a little background is we just did a site audit of 10,000 villages. So basically, they have a pretty solid online website right now. But there are still some things that they need to change and some things to focus on. But I also just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a background of things that you need to look at on your site. First, the homepage copy is really important. This is essentially the beachfront real estate of the internet or any website. So it's really important that you have content on there so that it's optimized for your keywords that you want to rank for, and just to really improve the user experience, to come to the homepage and have something to read and engage with. Right now, 10,000 Villages has mostly images on their homepage, and that's not really ideal. I mean, they have some copy, but it's about a featured artisan, which are their nonprofit organizations that make the handcrafted products that they sell through 10,000 Villages. And what we want to focus on is building a portion of the homepage to highlight the cause and the purpose of the nonprofit, because that's a very marketable thing. People love to help out and to give back to any type of community. So it's good to really just create a section that outlines the brand and allows you to put a little bit of keyword content, related content onto your website. Secondly, we'll look at title tags. You definitely want to consider keyword-rich title tags. It's really the most important part of any page optimization because the search, like Google, will obviously use your title tag as the clickable link when you do go through Google search engines. And so it carries a little bit of extra weight. Just some things to consider is that you always want to make sure that it's concise. You want 65 characters in your title tag. There's no guarantee. Google doesn't say that you can have this many allotted characters in your title tag, but you want to keep it short, and its common practices around 65. It used to be 70, but since 2012 it seems like they've shortened it a little bit. And a big reason you want to do that is because you can see in that image right below the 65 characters thing that there's the ... and you want to be concise and give viewers an exact idea of what they're going to find whenever they click on that link, so that they're, sort of inspired to go to it or find that it's relevant to them. Also, you might want to consider adding your brand to the end of the title tag so you can work on your presence. The first one at the top there is an example of how Nordstrom does everything. They use a lot of their keywords in all of their title tags, but then they always make sure to add their brand at the end. And then underneath that you can see how 10,000 Villages isn't doing that for all of their products. So they do it for certain products, specifically when they're in certain directories of the website's infrastructure, but you always want to make sure that you're adding your brand just to reinforce certain things and trust in viewers. And also, another common practice for keyword-rich title tags is that you want to avoid what are called stop words. So that means all of the extra stuff that's not keyword-rich. So like the, and, a, am, all of those are examples of stop words that you might not want to overload your title tag with. Next we'll talk about keyword mapping. It's just important that you take care of this whenever you're building out a website, because it can improve a lot of things. Basically, it allows you to establish some kind of infrastructure or information architecture for your website so that everything makes sense, and then it's structured for the site navigation, which will improve the experience for users in general. But then it also helps you develop a hierarchy of topics for content authoring, and serves as an official record of which pages are associated with which keyword. So it allows you to really essentially choose where you want to optimize your keywords, split them out through your website, and make sure you develop content specifically for those keywords and on those pages. And it helps target pages to relevant terms, and lets you know where additional copy is necessary for individual pages to rank for the targeted terms. You can just see an example of how someone might go about building a keyword mapping report. There's a column for keywords that they want to associate with the home page, and then if that's a new keyword, you might want to optimize it for the title tags and vary the description to match that keyword, or to put a call to action in with that keyword related, etc. Now we'll get a little bit into the technical SEO. One big problem with websites is duplicate content, especially if you have a really large website. Essentially what happens is Google will have to choose, if it sees two things that are very similar in content, it will have to choose which is the original content, and it will block that page if it completely matches it. So it's filtering out pages that aren't original and only going to index one page out of the two. And this creates a problem because it just disperses the power. So if you're building content that people naturally link to or reference, then you're spreading out power. So if you have 5 external links to this one page and 5 external links to a page with the exact content, then if they were all one page, there would be 10 links to it. So it's dispersing all that power and all the ranking benefits from that. Because obviously, if you have more referrals and external links pointing to just one page, your ranking benefits are improved. There's just an example there. You can see that if that's the original URL, and you go to navigation on the products page, and it links to that mess of a URL, but it's essentially the same thing, then you're diluting your power because they're essentially the same page, but they occur in 2 different spots. Another common problem is whenever you need to input the rel canonical piece of code, and what that does is it credits and designates the original content. So if you have 2 pages that occur in different parts of your website's infrastructure, you can see in those images that both of those are the same page. They both show that blue scarf. The content's exactly the same, but they're on different pages of the website, and you can see they have different URLs right down there at the bottom. And so that's a big problem with big sites, is it occurs multiple times, so you don't want Google to have to spread that out and disperse the ranking power. So you can use the rel canonical tag to issue or claim what is the original content, and it'll allocate that appropriately. So yeah, just other ways to fix this. If you have printer-friendly pages that are essentially the same thing, you can use the robots.txt file to have it not index those pages so that it's not creating any conflict there. Again, you can use the rel canonical tag. And then for product pages that are very similar, you can just add unique content. If you create longer descriptions for products or include different things like reviews, stories, and testimonials, that all helps Google differentiate between the pages, so that way they get allocated as such. And they aren't, they're both indexed appropriately. Also, the URL structure is very important. You want to keep it reader friendly. A lot of times it's just natural that things come up in numbers, and you want to rename them so that they have keywords in the URL structure, or they're just user friendly. People can remember them. It just makes sense. You want to utilize your target keywords in that URL structure because users don't want to click on unknown links. So employing relevant keywords in the URL is one way to build trust, as long as you don't overdo it. So basically, I would much rather click on a link where I can understand all of the words in it versus a bunch of numbers, because that just appears slightly spammy. Another point of technical SEO are response codes. You have to deal with them a lot as your site gets bigger and older. There's 3 types: 301 redirects, 302 redirects, 404 pages, among others, but these are the most popular. 301 redirects are the only ones that are search friendly. They pass page rank, so they're the ones that we recommend most utilizing, because you can, if you're redirecting what was once a page and it had any sort of ranking power, you can pass all of that over by putting in a 301 redirect to whatever page you're redirecting to that is most relevant or most like the page that was there. You can also utilize 302 redirects, but those are problems, because what they do is they temporarily redirect a page, and so Google knows this, and crawlers will ignore the temporary directive and still index that 302 page. So it's going to index a page that essentially isn't there, and you don't want that. Also, there's 404 pages. Those represent all of the broken links that create the 404s, and you want to repair those because they can trap the spiders and cause index issues by giving signals. The site hasn't been updated recently, so you can use a lot of different tools to find out where all your broken links are, and you can use 301 redirects to fix all of those broken links. Tools that I recommend using are Screaming Frog, but you can also use Webmaster Tools to find all of your crawl errors. And just to show you right here, if you go into Webmaster Tools once it's set up with your website, you can check in the left navigational column. You can go to Health, go to Crawl Errors, and then if you click on the Not Found section, it'll indicate all of the links that Google tried to follow, but instead got a 404 error. So those are all of your problem areas that you need to redirect. Alright, now we'll get into off-page SEO. So basically, 10,000 Villages has amazing off-page SEO from a very initial standpoint. They have a huge link profile. A lot of people are linking back to them. There's 862,000 links, which is a huge number, and 3,441 of those are unique domains. Obviously, I showed this picture. You can see down there the page authority, which is a ranking metric, and the domain authority represent the ranking power of that website. And you can see it's out of a scale out of 100. You can see they're very high up there, and it's very rare to see websites up there. So they have a very strong external linking or off-page SEO. And clearly, authority links are not their problem. They've been linked to from the Huffington Post, MSN.com, CNN.com, Wired Magazine. MIT's linked to them, and it's an EDU link, so that's really beneficial. Wikipedia links to them a ton of times. So you can see that they're getting a lot of positive press. They're being referenced, organically by a lot of very high power websites that can pass a lot of ranking power to them. But the problem here is that a lot of it's unoptimized anchor text. So as an example, you can see in this bio at the bottom where the green text is SEO consulting. That's the anchor text that is optimized. So if you type in a search query for SEO consulting, whoever created, Ann Smarty, who created that link, is obviously trying to get her website to rank for that keyword. And so what you want to do is you want to link to it with that appropriate anchor text. But the problem is 10,000 Villages doesn't have anchor text like that to support their search queries or their keywords. Instead, they have a lot of brand links because a lot of it is organic. So 66.9% of the root domains are all for 10,000 Villages. That's the text that isn't withholding the link. The rest of it is noise. 23% of root domains are for click here or visit website or go to this website. And that totals 90% of all of their links that are untargeted. So that, you'd think that they have that many links, they're doing really well with their rankings, but they could really essentially be doing a ton better if they were supporting it with anchor text that matched their keywords. And here is just like a picture so you can see the breakout of the percentages of all of their anchor text. You see most of it's just variations on how they say 10,000 Villages, or there's no text at all. The rest of it's like websites, click here. The only few keywords that you can see are things like unique gifts for her, and I don't actually believe that those are keywords that 10,000 Villages really wants to target. They want to target more things like fair trade. So you can see that that's a big problem, or at least that's a big missed opportunity. Some strategies to get that specific anchor text are through guest blogging, directories, and social profiles. Those are all pretty common tactics for getting that exact match anchor text, or that partial match anchor text that holds the keyword within the text for the link. Each of those are examples. In the guest blogging, you can go to other bloggers' websites, ask if you can provide content for them, write for them, find out what their readers want, and do that for those bloggers. And that's just a blurb that you can see of somebody who guest blogged on a website. They wrote this content for this website, and they added the link for internet marketing in there, because obviously the company Internet Marketing Ninjas wants to be known and wants to rank for internet marketing. In the directories, you can see that they either paid or was a free directory to just list their business on this directory, but they use, instead of listing their business's name, they use full service internet marketing company or internet marketing tools. So those are all references that's anchor text link for the company. Also, you can use social profiles. That's an example of in Flickr.com, the photography website. When you create a profile, you can manipulate what it says for your website so that it shows a specific anchor text. So if I want to rank for city trips in Google for the homepage of sitesofthecity.com, that's just a signal that it's relevant to the website. And now we'll get into a little bit more of the advanced strategies. So the first thing is Google Plus filter bubbles. And I know everybody's probably thinking, like, why would I want to be partaking in Google Plus? Because it's a dead social world. A lot of people aren't on there yet. But you have to think of it in this aspect, that there's an increased role of social data being impacted in the ranking factors. And when Google is in control of all that social data, obviously they're going to put it to search. And so right now people may not be super active, but in the future, if people know that they'll get better business or better traffic out of it, marketers are going to be putting more effort into creating content, encouraging engagement on Google Plus, because they know that will impact search. So if you think about it from the perspective of like some famous celebrity, if Lady Gaga wants to know that her big music video is going to go viral, she wants it to be relevant in Google search, so people can find it. But if she puts it on Google Plus, then it's going to show up in Google search, and all of the fans will still go to that Google Plus profile to view her new music video. So it's a matter of time, I think, till that really becomes an impacting factor. But for now, you can still exploit it to your benefit. So a little bit about what a filter bubble is. It's a virtual membrane that decides what content you get to see online. So basically, Google is taking what it knows about your search history and building a personalized search results based off of that. So, for example, if I know that some of my friends on Google Plus +1 something, I can find it's likely to show up in my search results just because they +1'd it. Here's an example of my own personal sports blog. It's not a huge blog at all. I don't spend a lot of time on building it out or anything. But some friends of mine +1'd it. Scott over here +1'd it. and then Sarab +1'd it. And you can see it down at the bottom. So if I just am in my own search, I can type in soccer news in Google search, which that keyword has a search volume of 165,000 globally and 40,500 locally. But yet it still showed up on my first page solely because somebody +1'd it. So I mean that's pretty huge. If you can get people in your network to +1 things, then all of their friends are going to have it show up. Something completely minute will show up among a bunch of huge search terms, or huge competitors for a very competitive search term. So it's a really easy way to break into that top 10 results or the first page without building links and spending years trying to develop the same level of content. So a takeaway from this is that if one friend plus one's a page, that page is more likely to show up in those personalized results. If I plus one a page, then that page is more likely to show up in my results. So you can get return visitors that way too. And if I plus one a brand's page, anything that brand shares is most likely to show up on my search results. So it just shows that you're sort of remarketing to those people, and you're just going to continually show up once you make that first engagement, and you can get them to Google plus your page or plus one your page. Then you're going to keep showing up to them and keep coming back, and they'll be more likely to visit and engage and be active with your community or be a return buyer. So again, you can influence filter bubbles for return visitors in the networks. Some strategies you can use with this are celebrity endorsements. If you can get a celebrity with a huge Google Plus following to plus one your page, then obviously their whole following is going to see that in their search results reflected. You can run campaigns like a plus one our page to win like an iPad or an iPhone or something like that. And if you can get multiple people to plus one your page, their networks are all going to be influenced, they're going to be influenced. And another thing is, for 10,000 Villages specifically, if at their checkout they just ask people to plus one their page, then, or just provide a little bit more Google Plus integration, then they're more likely to continue to show up in those people's search results. So it's a really easy tactic to break into people's search. Another advanced strategy is content marketing. You can see now in your own search queries that there's a lot more crowding. Things like videos are going to show up in the top page and take up real estate there. Shopping results are showing up. Images results are showing up. Local results are showing up. So it's taking up a lot more space on that first page and limiting your ability to really make an impact. So you want to get involved with other things that will help you show up in those results, and content marketing is a great way to do that. A little bit about why you should engage is the fact that you can get organic links by creating good content. You can get people to link to your content. If it's good, and it can build trust and build subscribers. It'll garner social shares because people will be like, oh, this is a great video I watched, you should check it out. Anytime you're creating new content, it builds new web pages that can be found in search, and just allow more ways for people to come across your website. It can impact your search rankings and can drive a lot of referral traffic if it's done well. A lot of content marketing tactics out there are regarding graphics or infographics, which are just ways to show complex ideas visually, or to share a lot of information visually. You can do motion graphics, which are basically videos based off of like a visual file. You can do instructor graphics, which are like lessons on how-to through infographics. You can also engage in video so that you can show up in those video search results. I targeted this specifically for 10,000 Villages. They could do a multitude of things because they have such unique content. A lot of it's based around their artisans, who are all these unique cultures, have a lot of history to what they do, and it's really unique products. So they could do a ton of video series, interviews with each nonprofit that they support, which also serves as ego bait. By doing those interviews, each nonprofit is likely to promote those interviews and say like, oh, 10,000 Villages is supporting us and doing all these things. So they're going to use their own networks to support and brand your brand. You can also cover the historical importance through a web series of all these different things. You could meet the people who are benefiting from all these nonprofits. I think that creates emotional appeals and ties and makes people want to be more active with your brand. You can also hold like a weekly artist session in which individuals who are making these handmade goods are filmed creating their product and share how they create all their products. And then another strategy that could benefit 10,000 Villages that they aren't engaging in is their blog. They do technically have a blog, but it mostly provides like short news updates. It's not very engaging, it's not very interesting. From first glance, you'd look at it and you think there's no compelling images that make me want to click on it. it's just a bunch of text, and that's slightly overwhelming to me. And it covers very brand-specific news, so it's not really interesting to a multitude of readers. So they can engage in a lot of different strategies for just on their blog with how-tos, from sharing instructional knowledge on starting and leading a nonprofit, which seems to be a pretty popular subject online. They can share successes of other nonprofits. Again, this is just ego bait to share and have those brands market 10,000 villages. They could also create a bunch of series for every day for Did You Know, where they share little facts about the company each day. Since 10,000 villages does have such unique information. I don't think there's really anybody else out there that's just supporting all sorts of nonprofits across the globe and helping sell their handmade products in these small villages and stuff. So those are all strategies that you can do for your nonprofit. So good luck implementing them.
Great. Anybody have any other ideas? Or I know there's a few nonprofits here in the group here. Anything else that's kind of worked for them that kind of 10,000 Villages is a little bit unique because it's kind of an e-commerce store out there. So the only one I thought of, do they have product reviews on there, Shane?
They don't actually right now. I don't think so. Did you see anyone?
I thought they did, but
maybe I didn't notice any.
Yeah. They might not have a lot.
Yeah, it looks like they were working on implementing it, but it's empty right now.
Yeah.
So.
Certainly those stars from the schema and stuff like that come up, so I think that's probably for new stores and stuff like that. Something could be good too. So.
I like the idea of the ego bait, especially since for small nonprofits you can sometimes put the task of the content generation back even on your donors, because you're giving them benefit by maybe posting an interview with them on your website or something like that. So they're getting something, you're getting fresh, unique content that's interesting. They're going to link to you, and it's just, I think it's a positive. I know that we do donations, and if somebody was like, let me interview you quick, and I'm going to put web page effects on my website, I'd do it.
Yeah, definitely. We're
gonna do that tomorrow.
Yeah. I had a feeling.
Yeah, it's a great way just to build your community too. I think people naturally, if they see something supportive like that, just in their own life, they're going to talk about it to other people and expose you in all sorts of ways. So.
Yeah, I think with the non-profit sector, I think it's a great opportunity to, calling it ego bait doesn't sound so great, but that's kind of what it is. You want to encourage people to feel good about participating, and that's a great way to do it, to showcase them on your website.
Is there any room to go back to some of the sites that link to just the generic 10,000 villages as their anchor text and get them to change it?
Yeah, you can always do that. You can always go back to webmasters and just say, I was wondering if you could do this. However, it is kind of frowned upon between webmasters because they view it as just like gaming links or, trying to manipulate the web so that it's not, as beneficial. But it all depends on how you ask, essentially. But you can definitely always go back to those webmasters and just ask if they could do that for you. And
sometimes they'll give you, you can find, a creative way to do it. If they're just linking with the anchor text to 10,000 villages, it's pretty awkward to email them and ask them to change that. But maybe, for some of them, it was the number 10, and it's not really how their brand is laid out. So you could, maybe email them and say, hey, would you mind changing this to 10,000 villages, fair trade items, or I don't know, any other keywords, whatever their keyword might be, and just send that code to them. So that way you're actually providing them some value too, instead of just asking them to randomly change the link, because I would imagine that wouldn't work very well.
I see on the bottom here you have all the social media icons. Are there, on actual product pages, can you share Facebook, Twitter?
This is actually Forgotten Voices, which Brian will talk about. But 10,000 Villages does actually do a very good job of that. On every product page, they have a little section for a Facebook share, the Twitter share, all sorts of different social media. You can email the product to other people, so it's really encouraged to add those things.
Yeah, the one cool thing I like about how Amazon sort of joins stuff is you buy something, you're like, share it on the Facebook and things like that, so you let your friends know that what you just bought.
Yeah, definitely. It's very encouraging. I think that has a lot of return on it.
And do they do much in terms of posting, I don't know about necessarily Pinterest, but like using like uplifting pictures and putting like uplifting slogans that people can share using, you know, people from villages, you know, just the struggles they've been through. So I see so many people, like every Monday, there's like 30 different Monday related, you know, posts that come out.
Yeah, I mean, 10,000 Villages doesn't currently do like a whole lot of that. At least on their website. I didn't really check out a lot of their social sites. That's just not really my forte. But I mean, anytime you're creating content like that, or, you know, if they have those images, that's going, you know, all original images, that's very beneficial to them, especially if they can put it on like Pinterest and drive traffic to their website that way. Anything like that.
It would probably be better though if they could put it on like their blog.
Yeah,
so you can
yeah,
get
exactly.
to the website, if we're talking search versus just pure social.
Yeah.
If they were original photos, they could post them to Flickr and post to their blog, so
Yeah.
you're getting both.
Yeah, they could
traffic
post. I
sources.
mean, they essentially you'd want to post them to the blog, and then you could pin them from that
Pinterest
web
and
page
Flickr
and
and-
stuff, and just drive things, you know, traffic from all different social websites.
Is there a quick question? Is there issues with like duplicate content as far as images? Like, say you put an image out on Facebook, you put it on your blog, you put it like on all these networks. Is that?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know if that gets indexed. I don't know. Anybody else have an idea about that?
I always like to post it online first, and then maybe the next day, then I go through and hit Pinterest. I mean, I could submit. I mean, if you got something real good, I mean, you could do Reddit. I mean, you can do a bunch of different things out there to try to
So
drive
post on
traffic.
where you're trying to have the unique
The
content.
original content,
And
which
then
you
wait.
typically want your
Yeah,
website.
get it crawled. That way, if there
Yeah.
is an issue, like you're getting those authorship. That's
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
crawl on the web.
Good strategy.
Great.
No questions?
Anything else?
Brian, want to take stage?